Good morning, everyone. I see that everybody managed to join. I see we have 31 people now, so I'm just going to kick it off. My name is Silvia Pesini, and I am here representing the coordination team of the Educational Leadership Network Europe, the ELNE. We continue today on Tuesday with the European Educational Leadership Week. After some great webinars yesterday, Monday, exploring the challenges and opportunities to improve the attractiveness of the teaching profession through collaborative governance, inclusive learning communities, different levels of education. We focus today on innovative learning. We are delighted to have some inspiring practitioners from different countries. We have today Belgium and we have Finland with us. You can see them on the screen, Cedric and Seija, welcome. That submitted very interesting practices on the topic of innovative learning environments conducive to leadership practices. We hope you leave this webinar today feeling empowered after hearing these great practices that the research committee of the ELNE selected for their quality, for their interest, for their transferability. And we will have a presentation from each of the two speakers, Cedric and Seija, and then we will have a Q&A session. So please feel free to already start engaging in the chat. Ask questions to the speakers. We will collect them to ask them in the Q&A session. And if there's no time, we ask Cedric and Seija as well to be on the chat answering your questions. So first, what we're going to do before I give the floor to our moderator, Daniel Wisniewski, is we're going to ask you one question as well. You should see a pop-up in your screen from the tool Slido. And I kindly ask you to please answer this question now in this first minute, and we will come back to it later. What is the ingredient that makes a learning environment great? Do you think? All right, so while you answer, I'm just going to give the floor now to our moderator, Secretary General of the European Federation of Education Employers, Daniel Wisniewski, and he will take it away. So Daniel, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today. Again, it's already our second webinar today. We started, first of all, with the Education Charter channel. We just had a discussion with Andre Thomas, who is a world expert in what is called game-based learning. Myself being a parent, I was quite skeptical about it at first. I don't know if I wanted my kids to actually use video games to learn, but it actually convinced me otherwise, that you can actually use it in a meaningful way. If you would like to watch it, it will be published later on in our YouTube channel in a couple of days. So I do invite you to do that. Right now, you are joining us for the first practice corner. It's a practice corner about innovative learning environments, and now a difficult word, conducive leadership practices. So those innovations and pedagogical innovations that could lead to, well, interesting leadership practices. And in here, for this next hour or so, we're going to show you two case studies, one from Belgium and one from Finland. And I have with me the two speakers, Cedric and Seija, from these two countries. We're going to start with Cedric. First of all, Cedric, you're coming from Belgium. You're coming from VBS Sint-Paulus school, and if you could tell us a few words. Your showcase is about climate adaptive school grounds. So yes. I assume it's about school grounds. Can you tell us a little bit more about your practice?
Yeah, I will share some pictures and maybe put the story of 8 years in 2 minutes, if it's okay.
Do it.
Yes, great. The picture is taken at the school ground of my school. About 8 years ago, we were starting to think about our school ground as a place that looked like this. It's a very common school ground everywhere in Europe. And we started to think with our children, with our parents and teachers, about how can we transform this very dull, monotone place into a sparkling learning environment where children can be in contact with nature and where they can be outdoors in a green environment every day. And it took us some time and some experts like this guy. He's a landscape architect, And he started to think with our children, with our teachers, with the whole community around the school about how can we transform this place into a place that is ready for the future, that is climate adaptive. And it took us some time to go through this process. But a few years later, it turned into this. It's a place now that used to be very monotone, and now it's full of nature, full of places where our children can play and learn outdoors, and where they can have very nice breaks, but also learning moments in this space that is now like it's like a little paradise, we call it. It's these are the good weather pictures, but we have the bad weather pictures too, of course. But we see now that the place that once was a very dull place is now a place where our children thrive and where they are happy to stay. We even have the problem now that children don't want to go home anymore after school. So it's a place that is now open to the community, where the children can play after school and where they can come with their parents for parties and other moments. The great thing about this place is that we are building places like this everywhere in Flanders now, because an organization, Bless, was founded in our project and is now helping schools with landscape designers to transform their spaces into climate adaptive school grounds. For every year, we start at 2.5-year-old children just until university places that we are transforming now into climate adaptive school grounds. We have 2 websites where we communicate about the project. The one left is the organization called Bless, that is helping schools to transform their grounds, and the site to the right, Climate Speelplaats, it's called Climate Adaptive School Grounds, is a site where we have put the story of our school ground with very hands-on tips and practicalities about how to change school grounds from your kids and from your schools into this type of places. So in 2 minutes, the story of 8 years. There you go.
Thank you very much, Cedric. This is indeed very, very inspirational. I will have plenty of questions afterwards, but I think that this time, first we're going to show the promotional video that you sent to us about this project, and then we're going to have a bit of a more chat to kind of get all the details of this project.
Welcome at the Klimaatspeelplaats of Sint-Paulus School, Kortrijk, Belgium. Together with a team of landscape architects, parents, government, and people who are expert in play and learning outdoors, we have realized this amazing play and learning landscape. We have found solutions on heat stress and bad air quality by planting lots of trees and shrubberies. And we are collecting over 150,000 liters of rainwater to be used in our sanitary blocks. Our school ground now has become a wonderful space for play and learning outdoors, where our children and teachers can enjoy their breaks and where they can take their lessons outside. We have created one climate adapted school ground here, but what if we could create more playgrounds like this? And why not all over Europe?
Well, I think, Cedric, it's a great idea. So first of all, I think it's really a great idea. I know that there's many schools in Belgium that are right now looking into this and looking into this kind of innovations. Myself, I'm looking, in fact, for funding to build this kind of place in the school where my kids go. So I know that it is a sort of a new trend. Now, I have a question. I have a number of questions here prepared. First of all, what is it? Of course, you've done it for, let's say, sustainability reasons and for making the space, let's say, more interactive. But what is the kind of learning outcomes that you can achieve through such a place? Is there any class that you teach in that place, or is this a place just for breaks? How is it really organized there?
The school is full, so we don't have empty spaces in the buildings anymore. So one of the main reasons to change the outdoor space is also we need to break out. We need to build a place where we can take teaching outdoors and not indoors, because we also see that putting children 6 hours a day on a bench and putting knowledge in them is not the way that we want them to learn. So being outdoors is like it's normal. A kid in our school is outdoors for 2 hours a day. only in break times. So it was also like a normal reflex from us to say, okay, if we change the school ground and we put lots of nature and nice places, we should take learning outdoors. So we see now that our teachers are there every day. They are outdoors every day, not only for teaching, but also for playing. And we see in learning outcomes that our breaks are more fun, that children aren't bored anymore during breaks. So we have reduced bullying and negative behavior because breaks are better. So that means also that in the classroom that all the conflict management has gone, because we don't need to do it anymore because breaks were good. Every teacher will recognize the moment after a break when it was like with lots of argument and the football game didn't turn out that well for one part of the class. So we reduced that. So, and next to that, we have seen that we can make our teaching more real. We don't have to teach from books anymore. We step outside the classroom and we are in a learning environment where mathematics and science and language is everywhere. The place is more dynamic. It goes with the seasons. So I think it's a very good win situation for every one of us. And next to that, during summer breaks, when heat stress is really high, and air quality is low, we planted over 40 trees, so that's also a very nice effect. We have more shade now.
And is it, you see, because I think that indeed this kind of learning setting is an extraordinary one. I mean, myself being a parent, I often go to my village. I'm coming from a village in central Poland, and every time my kids go there with this, you know, being exposed to a very different setting, with some animals to take care of, with this kind of farm kind of a setting, they enjoy it like crazy. It's something that is you know, it keeps them outdoor, which I think nowadays with this entire digital revolution, it's actually something quite positive. Now, coming back to the practices, let's say, and more kind of a technical side of this. What are the main features of this? What did you think of putting in there? I saw some chickens. I saw some kind of playground. What is it? What's the thing behind this? What did you indeed decide to include?
In fact, the school ground is like what architects would call a casco. They have put the basics there. You have the reliefs and you have the zones where play and learning happens. But as a teacher, it becomes very interesting to put in the materials to make the teaching happen. So what we have done is we have created a vegetable garden with like places where water is collected from the roofs, and then we put in like computers to organize and program all the water that goes to the vegetable garden. We do that with our 6th graders. We have a digital weather station where we have the diagrams of the weather, so we have our own weather forecast at the school. Next to that, we have beehives. We make our own honey, so we have parents who are keeping bees at the school, and we make the honey with the children, so we have the circle of life that is happening there. We have the chickens. Children from 5th and 6th grade take care of them, and then we are doing mathematics on the eggs and the food and the water. And next to that, our trees, all of them have their own online passports, so they have a QR tag. Every tree has its own social profile on a platform called Plant Soon, so the children can scan the code, put the pictures on the like social media page of each tree. So we have our own Facebook from our trees, and they have the information on this is this type of tree, this is how it grows, these are the leaves, and then we have the pictures through the seasons. But next to that, it's very informal. We see that we have very different type of play now. Children communicate better when they are playing with the water and the sand zone. They fight, they communicate, they create, they do wonderful things there. So it's very formal, but the informal way of learning is even stronger, I think.
And coming back to the story itself, I think that setting this up requires lots of effort and money. So my question is, how all these other stakeholders, meaning the parents, or the children themselves, the local communities, how did they contribute to actually making this happen? Because I cannot imagine that it was just the school doing it itself.
No, in fact, the secret is cake and coffee, Daniel. So when we had the creative moment and the information sessions and the participation session, we always had coffee, cake, some nice drinks. But it took us 4 years to think about the place before it was built. So we respected the fact that it went slow. Finding the funding, finding people who supported the project was also like on political level. How can we create this type of place to be like a pioneer and to be like a very good example? And then there's people like me who are able and willing to present the project in holiday time, because now it's holidays, and say, no, we have to share this story and we have to knock on the doors and we have to convince people that this is very important. Because one of the main questions that we asked the parents and the teachers was, how did you play as a kid? And they said, yeah, we could wander in the streets and we could roam the city and we can go to places where we could play in the wild. And these places have gone. Children don't play outdoors anymore without parents, without grandparents. And it's that feeling that we wanted to put in the project, like feeling that something has been lost in a very dense urban region like Flanders, and that we have to create them on school grounds. So with that feeling like, okay, let's go for it. And then a government that was able to find some funding to support the project. It's a great story. And we see now that we can transform it into more schools and that we can find the power and the people to create these places.
You see, I remember, but because since I originate from rural areas, when I mean rural areas are not like rural areas in Flanders, they are actual rural areas with farms and lots of fields and lots of empty space. In my childhood, I had, I was always allowed to run free. Why is that so? Well, because there was lots of space. There was safety. There was, in my village, there's 7 houses there. There's a single street and there's hectares of land. And so as a result of that, I was not having any significant constraint. I grew up on a farm. I was exposed to animals. I was having my dog, my cats, everything. And I remember, one thing, I'm living in Belgium now. And one thing that I did discover when I became a parent myself was exactly what you're mentioning here, is that ultimately many kids in urban areas, they're sort of locked in all kinds of schools, care institutions with little time outside. And it's obviously because of lack of space, because of safety reasons, because of the weather. In Belgium, the weather is probably not the most advantageous for the outdoor activities. But regardless, I feel like this is a kind of a project that could really shift it. So my question now is, what are all kinds of, let's say, challenges that you have encountered over the way? You said that it's been 4 years after having this famous cake and coffee, since this cake and coffee to the implementation of it, it took you 4 years. What were the challenges? Was there any resistance to that in any way?
You always feel resistance, but the challenge was, in the first place, can we have a good and clever design? We were lucky to find landscape designers with a heart for children who are able to put the feeling of the school into their design and to listen to everybody, because you can have an idea about the school ground and it should be nature and it should be green and soft, but then you have to listen to the firemen and to the people who are into the kitchen and our logistics. So you have to put all these people in that story and you have to give them the feeling that they all are important. So that was slow. That was necessary to visit other places and to bring in stories from all over Europe and the world into our design. That's something that we did. We traveled to watch and learn. And next to that, of course, the challenge was, once you have the funding and you have the idea and the plans, and it takes 9 months to build it. It took us 9 months to build it because we have very technical design below the surface. How do you organize a school with 500 children when there's like a building zone on your school ground? So 9 months of building zone, and then Corona came up. So we were like in a stress period for 2 to 3 years on that project. But then you see that the teaching staff and the people who are into the story are really believing that this is so important. So that's why we always say when we work with other schools, don't go too fast. Respect that it takes time, and respect the fact that sometimes a crazy idea needs to land into everybody's mind. So I think time and funding is just a practicality. If you have a good story, you can find funding, or you can convince people. But time is so important, and expertise. People who are expert in design, in building, in taking care of children, in taking care of play and learning. And so it's, yeah, that's why we talk about the whole school approach. You need to have the whole school, and that's more than the building. You have the community and the people who surround that community into that story.
Thank you very much, Cedric, for presenting to us this crazy idea of yours.
It's my honor.
I also think, that it indeed shows that your school is not just a building. It must be strongly supported by an entire community of people. And indeed,
Yes.
You're lucky to have them there to make this kind of changes possible.
Thank you.
For our viewers, we have around 40 viewers here with us. In case you have any questions to Cedric, you can post them on chat. We will be asking them afterwards. We're going to move now back to Finland. So in case you have any questions to Cedric about his story, please there. And we're going to Finland right now. We have with us Seija from Finland, who is working for, as it is visible on her background, for a Luovi Vet College. And Seija, can you please? I mean, your school is different. Is for children with certain special needs. So how can you tell us about your story? It's the project that is entitled here, Routes to Employment and Good Life, and it's designed for children with special educational needs. If you can tell us how is that really working over there?
Okay, hello everyone, and greetings from the Finland winter. Talking about the weather, this morning we had minus 24 degrees, and it has been like this for a few days now, and all January was fairly cold. So all Finland is white. We have snow in the whole country. I'm trying to share, but apparently you can't see what I see.
Yes,
it is good.
We can
okay, because I can't see it. Okay, so where my desk is, where I work here in Oulu, which is about in the middle of the Finland, and so it's 1 hour flight from Helsinki, and then there's another hour flight up to north to Lapland. Our students are not really children anymore. They are up from 15, 16 years to adulthood. And we are the largest provider. As you can see, we are working all over Finland, almost all over Finland, and we have more than 2,000 students. We are providing vocational qualifications, but what this idea is about is it's more about the preparatory training for those students who are studying for independent living and work. And we call them Telma students. I don't know, now it's a bit tricky because I can't see what you see. It changed now?
Yes, it did change.
Yes. So what we are talking about is Telma students. Their functional capacity doesn't meet the needs for vocational qualifications, so they can't study to become cooks or car mechanics or something, but they are studying for work and independent living. The reasons behind it might be health issues, there might be mentally handicapped, psychiatric problems, neuropsychiatric problems, or severe learning difficulties or severe social difficulties. We start with each student's individual needs and capabilities, and we will learn them the skills they need in their studies, in their working life, and in the society. Earlier, what we did was that we trained them kind of for sheltered job centers. And now we decided that the whole world could work as a sheltered job center. We don't need those kind of closed environments anymore, but the whole world is wide.
Very good. We're going to now show the video of it.
Luovi is the leading organization for special needs vocational education and training in Finland. We believe that each individual is special and deserves equal rights in the society and in working life. In Luovi, you can study for vocational qualifications in several fields, or you can study in preparatory training. All students are training at real working places in the real working life. Also those who are studying for preparatory training for work and independent living. These students often have severe problems in their development, their learning skills, their social skills, or health issues. Our professionals, our teachers, find the working places and the assignments in cooperation with the companies.
Let's learn more about preparatory training for work and independent living. The training is especially for students who can participate in various supported forms of work and assignments. For example, in restaurants, building maintenance, storage work, or in commerce. The training is focused on learning skills needed in the working life as well as in independent living, including housing trials. Every student has a personal competence development plan built on the strengths of the student. Luovi offers comprehensive support services. Students receive guidance and counseling for their professional growth and well-being throughout their learning pathways. Students receive individual guidance throughout their studies. Luovi has versatile learning environments where students can start practicing work assignments. A significant part of the competence is acquired in real work tasks in companies and other organizations. Luovi builds individual paths to working life from the beginning of the studies. The objective is to find placement where the student could be employed in the future, for example, in a company. Working in a work center or a day activity center can also be other options. Let's have a closer look at the work assignments of the students. Working skills can be practiced in assisting tasks, for example, in coffee shops and in restaurants. Work experience gives students understanding of their own skills and strengths. Learning by doing, becoming more independent in the tasks, makes it easier to find the path to working life with the support and guidance of Luovi professionals.
Thank you very much for this video. I think, I mean, it's really inspirational. It's really inspirational story to work with people and to help people with certain disadvantages and disabilities to access the labor market and having, in order to help them to have independent living. Seija, I'm going to have a few questions, but as you probably can notice, I'm a bit moved by your video, really, and so I'm trying to pull myself together to be professional. So coming back to the questions, how did you find companies that want to work with you? You said we're going to shift the entire concept of the sheltered living, and we're going to actually put those children, young adults, into the world, and the world will be their shelter, and the world will actually help them to become independent. Now, that's an entire concept change. How did you find companies and stakeholders to actually make it happen? I assume it was not easy.
Yeah, our staff, when a few groups decided to start this, our staff, the teachers and the assistants, visited the companies and asked if they could come and work there for a few days with no salary, nothing. We were paying their salary. So they went to the companies to find the tasks, to find the work assignments that would be suitable for our students. Because if you go there and just call them and ask, would you have something for us? They normally would say, no, not really. And but when we go in there and then we see, okay, our students could do this part and then you could do something else. That's crucial, that they really went into the companies and found the assignments.
And what's the features within the college itself? So I assume that what you're trying to do is you're going there, you're going outside, and you're looking for those little bits and pieces of certain tasks for your students. But how is the school organized then? what's the features of the school to actually make it happen? How do you really combine the school activities with the work that those young adults do?
Yeah, but you see, we make an individual plan for each student, and then we kind of build it for him or her. And if there's someone who says that my future plan is to live independently and work part-time in a shop, for example, then we start building that career for him. And then each student in a group where there might be 12 students, they each might have their own plan and their own path. And then we build them kind of that way. So it is about working together and sharing responsibilities. So it is not one teacher who can take care of all this. There must be some assistants. There must be the whole staff behind this, and then we need the companies.
So in other words, it's actually a school upside down. It's we designed the program we don't have an actual standardized program. We designed the program for the particular person. Is that correct?
And we take their strengths and their future plans, what they are imagining about, how they see themselves in the future. Well, we can't make them astronauts, but then we can kind of try to find what would be as close to it as possible.
You said how many students do you have in your school?
Altogether about 2,000.
You have 2,000, and
Yes.
How many staff do you actually have to actually make it happen?
All together about 900.
900 staff for 2,000 students. Yeah. I was thinking that for this number of children with special needs, this must be children with young adults with special needs. This must be.
But
really
that's the whole staff with the HR and the finance and everything. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. What were now? Do you feel like this model could actually be replicated, not only in Finland but in other countries in Europe? And if so, how? What are the challenges and the opportunities for replication of this model? Because to me, it's like a school upside down a little bit, but I like it very much. So is there a potential for that?
I see a tremendous potential for it, and I would like to say thank you, Cedric. What you said, it needs coffee and cake. That's what it takes. It takes time. It takes cooperation. You have to be willing to do things together with others. It's not our team or our company or our college who knows everything and we know how the world should be. We should sit down and discuss and share. And if our values meet, that is kind of the key issue.
So, just the final question. When was your school started? Can I ask this story? Was it a long time ago?
Yeah, the first one was after the Second World War. Soon after the Second World War, the organization who is behind us started organizing education for those who had diseases in their lungs. So that was why it was kind of education for somebody with some special needs, and it started with those diseases. So the history goes back to 47. It has changed totally.
I see. And this new concept of, the shelter should be the world.
Yeah, I would say during the last 5 years we have started turning it to this way. We are still on the way. We are doing it in some of our cities, but we are on the way in others also.
So yeah, thank you very much for your inspiration. I think it has been really great. It even affected my professionalism at the beginning. Well, colleagues, our guests, our viewers, now it's the time for you to ask questions. I have a number of questions here. Question from the anonymous user. First of all, congrats for your work. How would you motivate students and how you prevent to leave work? So I assume that what it means is how do you, I believe that this is actually a question for Seija, for your students. How do you actually motivate them to go out there and try to work in those professional settings? And how do you prevent them from leaving work?
Well, first of all, like I said, we ask about their interest and their strengths. But then there is, in the beginning, there is a small group of students and there might be an assistant going or a teacher going with them. So we always go there so that we don't send the students alone in the beginning. It might end up that they start going there alone, but first we go in small groups and our staff is with them.
Of course, of course. Another question about this: what is the profile of teachers with respect to in your school? Do they need specific pedagogical training to handle things like this?
Yeah, our teachers are special education teachers, all of them, and they might have a background on vocational education. So there might be somebody who has been teaching, becoming cooks or car mechanics or something. And many of our assistants have a working experience in the fields where we now are going for.
Okay. A question for Cedric. I'm shooting questions at you like this without any warning. How did you manage to find the funds for the playground? It's a question from our colleague here. So this issue isn't always raised in the school leaders. So that's probably someone from the European School Heads Association. How do you actually manage to find the funds? Where's the money?
I'm always very honest about how much our school grant, what the cost was. It was 600,000 euros, and half of it is below the surface in a new sewage system and rain collecting and all the technicalities about it. And we have this great football player, Kevin De Bruyne. He's Belgium. He plays for Manchester City. And when people say to me, 600,000 euros for a school grant, that's incredible. That's too much money. And then I say, yeah, but Kevin De Bruyne, he earns 500,000 euros a week to play football. And we have 500 children every day playing there for 2 hours a day. It's worth the money. So we have the tendency in schools to put a lot of money in buildings. In Belgium, a building cannot be expensive enough. But when you talk about the school grounds, it seems that there is no money for that. So we had some cheating on that level because we were able to convince our school board, that is, there are very old people there who don't see the poetry of play and playing in nature. So we used hard numbers and statistics. So if we put rain collecting systems for 150,000 liters, you don't have to pay your water bills anymore because you're not flushing the toilets with drinking water. So using that economy and using that language helps us to convince people in the school board. And next to that, we had the luck that in Flanders, there was the moment that our design was ready, there was a project from the Flemish government called Proeftuin Ontharding. In Flanders, it's a big problem that we are using too much concrete and artificial land, and that water is not going to the soils and into the soil anymore. So there was a large funding of 250,000 euros that we could have, and we wrote the file and we were accepted for that funding. So those numbers helped us to build that school ground. And next to that, it's what I said: share the story, talk about it, build coalitions, use the children as ambassadors. We had a petition at the school, and we went to the mayor, and the mayor accepted us with the reception, and we had some nice pictures, and we went to the newspaper, and the television came, and all of those things help to build a very good and strong case to find funding. And once you're over the top in your story, there's no way back. Then you have to go for it.
Very good. How did, again, maybe just to follow up with you, Cedric, how does this practice impact the well-being of your students there? I think it's an obvious question, but you said that you've managed to kind of limit the bullying aspect that was there with the use of this playground. So how did it really improve the well-being for everybody involved?
Yeah, it's quite easy when you build a place where children can play and where each kid can find its own type of play without becoming in each other's way or getting into conflict with each other. Because one of the main reasons why we had conflicts before was every spot in the school ground was a football spot. There was football, soccer everywhere, and we reduced that type of play to a smaller zone. And around that zone, you can find different types of play. So if you give all those different types of children their own type of play, and they can have it, and they can find it in a very natural way, you don't have conflicts anymore on the use of space. So it's quite nice to see how many different types of play we see now, and how this very informal way of leading children to the space where they can find their own break and their own play is helping to reduce bullying. Because we used to have a working group of teachers, and they had training and all types of bullying plans, and they went to Finland and to Sweden to find all the methods. And in fact, the answer was build a good school ground. So we don't have that working group anymore because they are without work. So build a place where children can play and find their own type of play, and all of those methodologies and very smart ways of courses and coaches and plans, they are not necessary anymore.
It could be as simple as changing the setting, isn't it?
It's very easy, and then we say that changing a school ground is in fact the easy thing, because how to change the mindset of the teachers to start using that space, it's way harder. So
maybe we can follow up on this later on.
Yes.
Seija, what's the, what advice would you give to other institutions focused on education with special needs, for children with special needs? What is your advice there? You said, okay, we have this personalized, we have the personalized
individual plans. Yeah.
Individual plans. That would be.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our core values in Luovi is trust. And I think that's what it's all about. And I can actually hear also what Cedric said, that we need to trust on our students, on our pupils, on our youngsters. If we kind of give them the space and make it possible and trust that they can do it. If we believe in them and we meet them with their needs or their special, they might have special needs or not, but if we meet them as they are and we trust them, that's the key.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Apparently, it's recognizing individual dignity of every person. Thank you very much, Seija. Cedric, there's a question for you from the audience. How this incorporation of this playground encouraged the adaptation of responsible ecological behavior outside the school environment for the kids? Do you have any evidence on this? Do you talk about sustainability using your playground in any way? And do you believe that this has had an impact on your students?
We have the label of Eco School. It's a label that you can have. It's a green flag label that you are a sustainable school. It's in a collaboration with Foundation for Environmental Education, and it helps us to bring in the language of sustainability, because it's not because you create a green space that it's a good green space or that they take care of it. And that's something that it's a never-ending story. How do you take care of this place, and how do you as a kid take care of the place? So what we do is we are still planting trees and flowers and doing things with the children to give them the feeling of ownership, that what they do has an effect and that they have to take care of it. And it's very stupid, because one of the main issues for not transforming the school ground was our big school party that we had every year, a big stage, and 1,000 people came over, and we needed a big zone for the stage and the people to watch. And then the parents said, we will not be able to do that anymore when you transform it into a green space. And we said, okay, it will be different. It will be a challenge, but let's try it. And now we have the problem that we have over 2,000 people, and they stay longer because they are now in a green space. So we have forced the parents and the teachers to transform their way of looking to school grounds, as they can be nice and they can be like park style, and they can be a good space to be outdoors, and it doesn't have to have one function only.
Thank you for your inspiration. I think I assume that now the parents coming for the parents' party, they just stay longer because they can play with the chickens. Also, thank you both for this for your story of inspiration. I think both of them are very different and yet equally inspiring. Thanks a lot for your time. I'm giving the floor now to Valentina. Valentina will show you the results of our word game that we had at the beginning. Valentina, over to you.
So we actually have a question for the audience based on these results. So you created this word garden. Now with the learning environments that you just saw, can you please tell us which words here did you see also in the practices that we just showed you? So which words do you think that represent these practices? If you can just drop them in the chat and maybe we can see what you thought about them. Also, we want to ask our speakers if there are any words here that you recognize as important to you. So please also tell us about them.
Can I start? I was just finishing with the trust, and I'm so happy to see it. And it wasn't me who wrote it there. Yeah, trust, equity,
Yes.
equity, and respect.
Yes, it seems like a lot of people actually think that this is very important, since it's the more big that it is, the more people that answered it. So very important. What about you, Cedric? What would you say?
I think it's a story of respect, but also connecting and connections and building connections not only between people but also with the community and with nature is so important. It's something that we need to do and we have to be open. I see understanding. You can have an idea of creating something, but you need to understand the people who are involved and you need to listen. But sometimes you don't need to listen to. So participation, it's not always like everybody agrees. It's like we have an idea, let's go for it, and you can participate.
Well, I can tell you that there's a number of words I think that are clearly missing. I at least can say two. There was a coffee and cake, which were not mentioned at the beginning, but they sort of became the key elements and the key words of this session. I wanted to thank you both for this really great inspiration. I think you have really shown us the different way of education, and I'm really grateful for that. We certainly finished this session even more inspired and more motivated for our work to make the education more inclusive, more personalized. Thank you very much also to our participants who have just been listening to this, and for all your comments and participation in the Slido game and the word game. I am very happy also to see that at least some of participants said about interactivity. It was the word that I dropped there, which is not shown here, unfortunately. Apparently, I was the only weird guy who said that. But anyway, thanks a lot for being here, for being with us. Just a small advertisement at the end. Stay with us. We're going to have a break of 15 minutes. And the next session will start at 11:30 and it will be another practice corner, this time about, pre-learning activities, shared methods and practices. So we see you at 11:30. Thanks a lot for the time. If you have not yet registered for the next session, that will be in around 20 minutes, make sure to look at the link that has just been posted in the chat. You need to register in order to receive the link. Otherwise, you cannot join. If you liked the current practice corner and you would like to experience more of interesting practices in the school context, join us there in 20 minutes. But in order to do that, you need to register. It's key. And I'm asking my team to do it again, put it again, to make sure that nobody skips the link. To the speakers, thank you very much for this, for your inspiration once again. Let's stay in touch and good luck with your amazing work. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.